Sorry about that. We just had this little random thunderstorm and the power flickered. I was like, oh,
Oh
all
gosh.
right.
Well, I'm happy you were able to log on. I just gave everyone kind of a little brief interview of myself and kind of about the series, just highlighting physical therapists,
Mhm.
mainly travel physical therapists who have been affected by COVID-19, the coronavirus. So, if you just want to give a little brief intro to yourself.
Okay. So I'm Bria Savage. Sorry, the little stand is not acting right, but
That's all
I'm
right.
Bria, y'all. I'm a travel PT. I'm currently working in Wisner, Louisiana, which is about an hour from my hometown at a skilled nursing facility. Originally, I was supposed to be headed to Atlanta, Georgia for an outpatient contract, but COVID messed that up. So I'm
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we're happy to have you, and I'm sure all of your patients are happy that you're working with them. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry about the bad weather, but like I said, I'm happy you were able to join in, and we're happy to have you. Now,
Yeah,
I
thank you,
know
thank
you said
you.
you were traveling. How long have you been traveling?
So I've been traveling since December 2019, so I'm still pretty new in the game.
Yeah. Now, did
Yeah.
you start right after graduation, or?
Yeah, so basically I graduated August 2019, got licensed in November and started traveling in December.
Okay. And
Yep.
how many contracts have you done so far?
Two.
So this is your second. What was your first
Yeah.
one?
My first one was a home health assignment in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, so you kind of made the switch from home health to SNF, and was that because of COVID-19, or is that just something that you wanted to try out?
I wanted to try out the home health setting at first because it was bottom of the totem pole for me. So I said, let's just give it a try, see what happens.
Yeah.
And after that, I realized that setting wasn't for me. And so
Hmm.
outpatient was up next. And then COVID happened. And so I was like, let me just take whatever I can get at this point.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. A lot of people kind of, well, in my experience, a lot of them go for the home health positions because usually they're a little bit more lucrative as far
Mhm.
as pay and things like that, and then outpatient is a little bit less. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never done home health. I'm just, it's not something that I really want to try, but you do, so I've heard you make a lot more money. So you're
Yeah.
in SNF now. So tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about your facility.
So right now, I believe we have a 70-bed nursing home, and one of our hallways is strictly dedicated to our COVID patients. Right now, we're not allowed to go in that hallway. We're actually next week they said they may want us to start treating our COVID patients, but right now we're staying on the other wing that has either our people that have tested negative or those that have recovered. So they did have two negative tests.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been quite the ride. So
Okay.
next week we're supposed to get fitted for our PPE for the COVID hall.
Okay. So you haven't, as of yet, you haven't been actively working with uh, coronavirus.
COVID, right?
Okay. So how is the PPE where you work for the people who are having to go? I'm assuming like CNAs and nurses and things, they are having to see those patients. Are they
Mhm.
having a hard time with PPE, or is it in abundance where you are?
Definitely not in abundance. So with our COVID wing, we only have like one or two CNAs, housekeepers that solely are dedicated to that wing. So from I don't know, last month until now, only one or two CNAs that on that shift they work that wing and they have the hazmat suits, the face shield and all that great stuff.
Okay.
For us working with the people who had pending results or who tested negative, this past week we just got our face shield. We just got more gowns that we could actually wear because we were recycling one gown for 7 days.
Oh wow. Is it
Yeah.
like the yellow one? It's like the yellow like paper.
Hmm.
Wow.
And actually, we had the yellow paper one, and then this past week we got the blue like plastic ones,
Uh-huh.
which I like those a little bit better. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So how is the treatment for the patients who are on your caseload? Are you guys having to take any extra precautions? while you're working with them? Hey, Dr. V, Dr. V just joined. Um, are you having to take any extra precautions with the patients that you do have on your caseload right now?
Mainly the precautions now that we have a slight abundance of PPE. So we have the same gown for every 5 rooms. So after those 5 rooms, before you leave out the door, you take off all your PPE, do your hand hygiene, then walk out, hang it up on a hook, go scrub down, put on your next PPE for your next 5 rooms. So it's very time consuming
I bet.
just changing all our PPE.
Now, of course, with the SNF, usually, I guess every facility has their productivity. So, with you just said it takes a lot more time. Is your facility becoming more lenient on the productivity standards, or is it all still
Originally they were lenient. My census actually got really low at one point, so I had to start doing the restorative nursing program. So no billing was being done. But
right?
over the past week, as we've had people test negative, my census has gone way up. And so now they're like, you got to get back on your productivity. And
Mm-hmm.
it's still kind of hard because you're like, I have to take the time to go change out of my PPE,
Mm-hmm.
scrub down, put on my new PPE, go back and, treat all our patients. And we're not in the therapy gym right now. We're treating patients in their rooms. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't do my notes or any charting until the end of the day. And
Yeah.
so I like have a little pen and paper in my pocket. I'm trying to jot down little notes here and there.
Oh my
But at the end
God.
of the day, I'm like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours trying to do progress notes,
Oh,
evaluations,
oh,
all that, all the charting, the daily notes. So
oh
it's
my.
hard.
Now we
Yeah.
have a few people here who may not be um, well versed on how things work in the nursing homes. And you mentioned the restorative nursing program. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that is and kind of what that entails?
Yeah, so once we've discharged them for meeting their short-term and long-term goals, we put our residents on the restorative nursing program so they can still do some type of exercise, some type of gait training, or walking with the CNAs. But because we're short of CNAs, I'm the only PT on site, so sometimes I'm going room to room just to do some active range of motion, passive range of motion, or just walking to the bathroom or
Yeah.
to the day room to the drink machine for them to get a drink and
Yeah.
then going back to their room.
So it's kind of like a wellness program for
Yeah,
patients in the nursing home, just so they're not sitting in their rooms and things like that, especially during this time. I'm sure they're not allowed to probably just
yeah,
congregate in the dining hall
yep,
and things like that. So just something to keep them active
right,
after they've met all of their goals as prescribed by physical therapy.
correct.
Okay, and then I know you mentioned the procedures kind of with donning and doffing the
Mm-hmm.
PPE, but how about when you first enter work? Are they taking your temperature? How are they
Mm-hmm.
screening you guys prior to the beginning of your shift?
Yeah, so when I arrive to work, I have to go to the front of the building and we have a wash station right there as soon as you walk in. So you scrub down, you go to the front, the first table or counter, and they'll take your temperature, they ask you all the screening questions, and then I have to go back outside around to the office part of therapy gym to print off my schedule for the day. Then we
Hmm.
go back outside, back around, wash up, and then go see my patients.
Oh my
So
God.
it
So
is
it's not
definitely a
like a
process.
typical work day for you then.
No, not at
Wow.
all.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
How are you decompressing after work?
Well, after work, I have an hour commute home, so I put on a good podcast, whether it's Eric Thomas or some good sermons, or it's just some mellow music like some neo soul, and just release the day. Just let my
Okay.
mind wander a little bit. But yeah, I come home, I work out, I eat real good, and then I go to sleep to prepare for the next day.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
how long are you in this current contract?
So it's 13 weeks, so my last day should be July 3rd.
Okay, so that's coming up
Mhm.
soon. And I saw
Yeah.
on your I think it was your personal Instagram that you got finally got your license for Georgia. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Correct.
So are you planning to try to find something in Georgia for your next contract after this one
Yes.
ends in July?
Yes, I reached out to two of my recruiters and was like, hey, Georgia license is here. The next assignment, whatever y'all can find me, let's get to
Mhm.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of scoping out the job market daily
Hmm.
almost. And it doesn't seem, well, it's starting to pick up, but I haven't seen a whole lot. But hopefully by then, um, you'll be able to find
Yeah.
something. So
Absolutely.
tell us about your brand new kind of business venture. I know we have a lot of people here who have been interested in starting their own business, and you
Mhm.
actually went out and did that. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, how you got the idea, and things like that.
Yes, so I just launched Savage Physical Therapy. It's a mobile concierge PT practice, mainly geared towards ortho, sports, yeah, wellness. But it was maybe 2013, 14 that when I really decided that physical therapy was the journey I was going to take, I said that I have to own my own. It was just something about it. I was like, I have to own my own
Mm-hmm.
because there are different ways I want to do things. And, I enjoy working for others. I love gleaning and learning from them. And I'm like, I can take a piece of this, piece of
Yeah.
that, and put my own spin on it and
Mm-hmm.
make Savage Physical Therapy. So that's where that came from. And during my home health contract, I reached out to the guy that does my taxes and was like, hey, do you know anything about filing things for LLC or PLLC for PT practice? He was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So he was like, when do you want to start? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. But something was just urging me to go ahead and just jump out there and do it. Like,
Okay.
why keep waiting? So the past 6 months been building and building and researching, and May 1st of this year we officially launched.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
tell me, because I'm kind of interested in that as well, and I'm kind of starting to do
Mm-hmm.
my research, and I just want to know how would, because you are a travel therapist, how can you do your business in different states, or how does that work?
Yeah, so basically as long as I have the license for that state, I can work there.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how that goes. So right now I'm licensed in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Georgia. So across those state lines,
You're
I am
good.
free to work.
Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit of what your caseload kind of looks like. Is it mainly athletes? Are you doing any geriatrics, any peds?
Mhm. So right now, I've mainly had athletes. One of my friends owns a baseball academy in Alexandria, and so either every weekend or every other weekend, I drive to Alexandria and I see some of the athletes at his facility. Mainly baseball players, a few football players, but yeah, mainly athletes right now.
Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And are you, I know, being a travel therapist, you kind of just think kind of short term, but sometimes you want to think ahead and think about things long term. And is that
Mhm.
something that you think you would probably just end up doing just that, just savage physical therapy?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. I want to ultimately open brick and mortar somewhere. Don't know where. Waiting for Jesus to go and tell me where to set up shop.
Because you have
But
a
right
bunch of
now,
licenses.
yeah. So I'm like, Jesus, I don't know where I'm supposed to settle down at. But until then, I plan on continuing to travel, try to get some of my student loan debt down, and
Oh,
do Savage Physical Therapy family on the weekends or when I have free time.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I know I mentioned that you do have multiple licenses in different states. And how are you
Mhm.
keeping up with all of the CEUs and things that are required for a license?
Yeah. So I created an Excel spreadsheet. So for every state, I'm pretty much documenting what I've done online, which right now I'm only taking courses online. So whatever I take online, I document that down through my Excel sheets, and
Hmm.
I have the requirements for each state listed on those Excel sheets.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you have, or are you interested in any special certifications or things like that? Especially now since you have your own concierge
Mhm.
PT.
Yeah, I've contemplated OCS or SCS,
Mhm.
but I'm still praying on it.
Yeah.
It's such a huge time commitment and
Uh-huh.
really just a mental commitment as well. Getting back in the groove of studying, not just to learn, but to have to pass a test. It's,
Exactly.
yeah.
So for those
But
we have in our lab right now who are not aware of what OCS and SCS is, do you want to elaborate a little bit on what that is?
yeah, so the orthopedic certified specialist or the sports certified specialist basically learning specific things or training for those two settings or those two genres.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I just being a travel therapist, personally, I kind of wanted to get more of the experience of working in different
Mm,
places rather than, being
yeah.
uh certification oriented. But I think once I kind of get to the end of my travel journey, I would be interested in maybe like a neuro or geriatric specialization.
Yeah. Right now, I have my LSVT big certification,
Oh,
and
nice.
I did start a little bit of studying for my strength and conditioning certification just because I'm working with athletes a little
Yeah.
more.
Hmm.
So for short term, the CSCS is something that I could, get rather quickly if I really buckle down and study. But the OCS or SCS, it's gonna take me a little minute to really just buckle down and say, okay, I'm going to do this and really commit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know on your personal Instagram, whenever you were kind of telling us the story of how Savage PT
Uh-huh.
began, you mentioned that you do have a lot of mentorship and people that you reached out to. So obviously, you think that's super important. So
Mm.
tell us a little bit about who you decided to, reach out to as far as mentorship and
Yeah,
how
so
that's helped you grow as a clinician.
one of the current physical therapists that I consider one of my favorite mentors is Dr. Kiana Fluellen. She owns Body Goes ATL, so she's in Roswell, Georgia, but
Mm-hmm.
she services the whole Atlanta area. I reached out to her while I was a student. I was doing a clinical rotation in Snellville, Georgia, and she
Oh,
came
okay.
across my Instagram, and I reached out to her. I was like, "Hey, I'm in the same city or state as you. Could I please just come shadow you?" And so I went on the days that I didn't have to be at my site, and I just shadowed her. I asked her a bunch of questions. And so for the past almost 2 years, I've just stayed in contact with her. We set up calls so that I can ask her questions and then a follow up call to see if I implemented the advice that she gave me. So
Mm-hmm.
she's definitely been super instrumental in helping me start my own clinic.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, if for people who are interested in kind of a mentor, would you mind dropping her Instagram? Because
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to say her Instagram is at Body Goes ATL, but I'll definitely post it on there.
okay. And then just getting back to kind of working in a sniff, do you think that is something that you would consider in the future? Or are you kind of are you burnt out from it already? How's that
But
going?
yeah, I don't honestly, I don't think I would do it again. I mean, I love working with the geriatric population. It's been a great experience, but it's a little slow paced for me, and
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my manual skills or my facilitation and all
Yeah.
that great stuff. I don't
Yeah.
want to lose that right now because right now I'm literally doing bed mobility and gait training and just simple exercises to keep them from atrophying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
there's nothing wrong with working on those things and those kind of basic skills, but along with the I guess the slow pace of sniff, it
mhm.
I guess you can have this in any facility, but for whatever reason it's really bad in the sniff where you have DORs kind of pressuring you to do certain things that may or may not be ethical. I'm sure you can speak a little
Mhm.
bit on that too.
Yeah.
Um, and you have some experiences with that. But not to say that it's their fault, but it's especially probably with the decrease in census that you had,
Hmm.
just trying to, pick up patients who probably weren't necessarily in need of therapy and things like that. So do you have any experience without sharing too much, um, just sharing a little bit about your probably not very positive experiences with working in a SNF?
Yeah, so because the census did get low at a time, we were pretty much screening almost everybody in the building, and nursing was referring a few people saying, hey, they need this, they need that. And I go and I'm about to do the evaluation, and I'm like, oh, I don't think they do.
Yeah,
But because we have this COVID waiver that if we could justify it enough, then we can do physical therapy. And there are some people I had to go ahead and just put my foot down and be like, I'm sorry, but I can't. Like
yeah.
I can't. No, and it's hard, but I'm like now I'm in that role of being the physical therapist. Like I'm the only one on site, so I have to put my foot down and tell them, hey, yes, I can do this, or no, this is absolutely unethical, and I cannot risk my license for
Hmm.
this.
Now,
Mhm.
I know you said you're the only physical therapist. Are there any OTs working with you, CODAs?
So we have one OT who is also the rehab coordinator who's working,
Hmm.
and we do have a speech therapist, but because our building is now considered a positive COVID building, she's not allowed to come because she floats between two sites. So right now it's just me and the OT.
But there hasn't been any like outbreaks in your facility. You just have people there who are COVID positive.
So we had a minor outbreak. We had a lady who was discharged from the hospital and they put her on the 14-day precautions, but I don't think it was taken seriously enough. And so it did spread to some other residents.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's why we had our different gowns for the rooms that were pending results so we could still
Yeah.
treat the ones that were pending. But as soon as it came back positive, then we had to discharge them off for our caseload and they were moved to the COVID hall. Yeah. So all of our residents are on lockdown right now. Like nobody's allowed to come out the room. They have to go through two more series of testing to make sure they're all negative
Hmm.
before they loosen up on the lockdown precautions.
Do you know how quickly their results are coming back?
3 to 5 days.
Okay, so that's a little while.
Yeah.
And how many people would you say are on your current caseload versus how many residents that you may have with positive? Uh,
So right now I have about 10 to 12 people on my caseload, and all of them have come back with negative or they were discharged from the COVID hall. So I don't have anybody pending results right now, but I'm set to screen those people like
mhm.
next week.
And how are you feeling about that? Are you anxious? Do you feel prepared?
For the most part, I feel prepared. I just know in my personal life, I'm going to have to lock down and do a little more quarantining versus, having to go out to get groceries, maybe do grocery pickup and,
Yeah,
things like that. I'll just have to stay in my room, not really
yeah.
um, interact with my parents. Yeah.
Okay. And you are, so you're with your parents now. So you're,
Yes.
oh, yeah. So you definitely want to be careful now. Are you doing anything like changing after a shift or things like that? Not
Yeah.
when
As soon as,
you comes home?
I get off, I have a separate change of clothes that I'm like putting on. Yeah.
Okay. And um, if there aren't any openings in Georgia, would you consider extending where you are now?
You
Your
know,
face just, you're like, what?
I've been thinking about that for the past week or so, and right now, my answer is no. But who knows what may happen in this next month?
Hmm.
So right now, I'm saying no, but who knows?
What advice would you have for um, a therapist who's getting ready to graduate and wanting to jump into travel PT right now?
Um, First, I would definitely say grab a mentor who has already walked this route because
Mhm.
when I first started, I didn't know too many travel PTs. So I started walking in kind of blindly. And
Mhm.
as I continued, that's when I started learning of who was doing this and asking them questions. I know I reached out to you once
Yeah.
before, once or twice,
Yeah.
actually trying to get some advice. So I would definitely say get a travel PT mentor to help you walk through this stuff, because I didn't know anything about having to tax home or duplicating expenses for your stipend money, and
Mhm.
just to make sure you know all the ins and outs so that nothing comes and bites you in the butt later.
Yeah.
Definitely get a mentor and ask questions. And if you don't know something, put your pride down and just say, hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy you mentioned that because there's stuff that, I'm still learning, especially in this climate,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm still learning. I know a lot of travel PTs are having who
Yeah.
got let go from their positions, had to apply for unemployment. It's like, where do I apply for unemployment at? I've
Yeah.
worked in all of these different states. So I think it's just, it's ever changing, and we're all having our fingers crossed that things will go back to normal, as
Yeah.
far as the job outlook and things like that, especially with more states opening up and more elective surgeries picking back up and things like
Yeah.
that. So we all are ready to just get back to normal travel life and being able to have a abundance of places to choose from and settings
Yeah.
to choose from, especially outpatient, because they're kind of slowly picking back up, I guess. So they'll probably be one of the last ones to start to come back to the job market.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have any questions for Dr. Bria Savage at the moment about her concierge PT? Whether she can come, travel to you and treat you? I'm sure she wouldn't mind. Now, are you cash based?
Yes, cash based. I said I'm going to stick with that for the next couple of years so I can really learn and research on insurance and all that, because that's a whole nother monster. I
Yeah,
looked into it. I'm like, oof, I, yeah, I don't have the capacity, not right now. So while
yeah.
I'm first starting out, strictly cash based.
Okay. So, but you're open to, once you learn a little bit more, expanding
Yeah,
um, to insurance.
insurance, Medicare, all that great stuff.
Okay. So I actually have a question for you. Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna, I've been asked, I asked Dr. Luke this. I'm sure you tuned into the last one when I had him on. Just
Mhm.
asking, um, physical therapy, essential or non-essential? What would you say?
Absolutely essential. Absolutely essential, because even with my experience at the nursing home right now, as people are getting discharged from the COVID hall, they are their endurance is way down. I had people who were once walking all around, now they need max assist to get out of the bed. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that we are essential, from the nursing home to outpatient, inpatient. I think we're essential everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you are seeing some of the positive side of that recovery. People being discharged from the COVID unit over to you. That's always a good thing. Getting them
Mhm.
back up and moving again and things like that. Now, I know this is, I don't know, this might be a bad question. Have you had a lot of deaths there because of the coronavirus, or everybody's seemed to be progressing with the disease in a positive manner?
We've had a few deaths, some that we really thought they were going to recover because they were some of our higher functioning patients, but we've seen a few deaths, unfortunately.
And how is that
But
affecting the climate and, just the atmosphere in your facility?
um, it's there's tension,
Yeah.
definitely stressful. So like this past Friday, I was like, it felt so climby and so much animosity that I went and bought ice cream for the staff. I was like, let's do ice cream
Oh,
Sundays,
yeah.
y'all. Like ice cream makes everything better. And so it felt good to see people smile and
Yeah.
put all these toppings on their ice cream, just the little things to, just let people know that, hey, you're doing a good job. This is a stressful situation, and it's going to be okay. Doesn't feel like it, but it will be.
Good for you. I'm sure that brought some smiles. And hopefully, is Louisiana open?
We're in phase one. So on this past Friday, we moved to having 25% capacity at like restaurants, things like that. But I'm not going out just yet.
You know,
I'm not going
same
anywhere.
here. You know, Atlanta couldn't wait to be open, and there, yeah, it's getting a little scary. But I'm still kind of in quarantine, I guess, not only going out um, if it's absolutely necessary. So
Hmm.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Any questions, guys, for Dr. Bria before she goes? But I'm sure if you do have any questions for her, she has a separate platform, Savage Physical Therapy, where she kind of shares more info on her business and things like that. And I'm sure she wouldn't mind you guys reaching out to her via DM on that site or her personal site. Okay, we have a question. Rachel Denise 2 underscore. Is there a limit on the number of state licensures you can obtain? Not to my knowledge, as long as you're
Yeah.
keeping up with your CEUs and um,
Hmm.
staying updated on your license and things like that. I think
Right.
you can have as many as you can tolerate.
Hmm.
I'm trying to keep a limit on, because it's tough keeping up with everything, because different states
Oh,
have
absolutely.
different requirements. So I,
Yeah.
like you, keep a little Excel sheet in a separate folder with all my CEUs on my computer, just so
Hmm.
it's easily accessible. I did let my Texas license lapse, which was bad, but now that everything's closed, I don't even know. I'll probably look back into it. But so, are you
Yeah.
in a compact license? I know what Dr. DPT is here, and we kind of talked about compact licenses on
Hmm.
our episode, the very first episode. Are you in a compact license?
Yeah. So with Louisiana, I'm in a compact license.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions about compact licensure, like I said, when I was on with Dr. Luke DPT, we kind of discussed it and what it means. And that video is up on my IGTV if you want to kind of go back to that one to talk a little bit about that. But like I was saying, if you have any personal questions for Bria about travel PT, concierge PT. Obviously, she's working with athletes. So if you have any questions about that, she might be able to help you with that. Just to reach out to her. You want to give them your handles.
Yeah. So for Instagram, I'm either at Dr. Savage, or on for my business at the Savage PT. My website, savagephysicaltherapy.com. And on Facebook, we're just Savage Physical Therapy. I say we're. I'm only a one man show, but
I
speaking in
know,
faith that one day
but
I'm
it's
gonna have a
awesome.
team.
But it's awesome, though. We love to see our people of color having their own businesses and kind of
Yeah.
running things and showing that it's possible. So I'm
Yeah.
inspired by you. I know we have a few people in the live that are inspired by you. And
Yeah.
we thank you for coming on. And do you guys have any questions for me? You can always reach me at Purposely Traveling. I also have purposelytraveling.com, and then my personal Instagram, Dr. Witherspoon. I'm open to answer any questions about travel PT. If you'd like to be featured, if you want to tell me your story, I'm always open for that as well, um, via DM or email or anything like that. Okay, we have a question from Dr. Luke. We kind of tapped into this a little bit. How did you go about starting concierge PT? You want to answer that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So, because I still want to travel and be a travel PT, concierge was my way to go. Like I said before, I don't know where I'm settling down just yet. So I reached out to my tax guy, asked him about it, and he filed my PLLC for me and all the necessary documentation for me because I could have done it myself, but I didn't want to mess anything up because I'm
Yeah,
still trying to understand all that legal language.
yeah,
So I paid someone to file all of that for me. And yeah, it just works best for me so that while I'm moving every 13 weeks or so often, I'm building a small clientele in the area that I'm working in.
that is awesome. And I think that goes to say that never be afraid to reach out for help, for things that you don't know. Like, I reach out to people for help. I don't have all the answers, but
Yeah,
I'm always open to reaching out to people who may have the answer or who can get me to somebody who has the answer. So just make sure you're doing things the right way, especially with travel PT. It could be kind of scary if you
yeah.
make the wrong move or not doing your taxes correctly and things like that. So
Mm.
hopefully that answered your question, Dr. Luke. But like I said, this will be recorded and I'll upload it onto my IGTV. And again, if you have any particular questions for Bria, she's always open for that, I'm sure. And you stay safe in Louisiana. And you said you may be coming this way in July. If I'm still here, we can
Yeah,
definitely link up in the A,
absolutely.
because I'm sure they'll be open by then because they cannot wait. Um, but we thank
Mhm.
you guys for joining in, and we thank you for your time, Bria.
Thank you for having me.
We will
So
be.
all fancy.
Yeah. Well, you look beautiful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hope you guys have a happy Sunday. And thank you so much.
Alrighty.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right.